Hi, in this video, I would like to share some reflection on attachment styles. When I ask to people if they know about attachment styles, the answer that I most commonly get is, I've heard about them, but I don't really know what they are about. So the first thing I would like to explain a little bit what they are, really quickly where they come from, and then share some reflections, based on my personal experience, so kind of my meaning on how best to look at attachment styles. It all started, I think, in the 50s, when there was research about how children were connecting with the mother. And there were these four styles developed, four attachment styles. One style is secure attachment, and that's the standard, that's what's the ideal situation, that's what as human we are programmed to, that it's the happy place, the secure attachment. And then there are three kinds of insecure attachment. And these are the three things that you can see as problematic and create sometimes difficulties and may need healing. What happens later is that what turns out is that attachment style is not just important in the relationship between children and their mother or caregiver, but also within couples. So the romantic love is also influenced by attachment styles. So when the attachment is secure, everything it runs smoothly. There is a natural, it is really easy to trust each other, unless there are, of course, strong reason not to, but trust comes naturally. You feel safe, so you can balance your emotion more easily. You are resilient, and you can face difficulties. If there is something, you notice it, you can slow down and see what it is about, and you can look for solution. That could be so within a relationship, a romantic relationship is also rather natural to pay attention, to hold space for the other, to be loving, to be present to the other. I took some notice to make sure I don't forget the important thing. Connection, intimate connection, it's possible, it's easy, it's something you can handle. The three kind of insecure attachment have some challenges there. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is insecure avoidant. Insecure avoidant manifests itself as a kind of tendency to disengage, to close down, difficulty with intimacy, with enter certain conversation, to create strong bond, sometimes even. And that's associated with a fear of rejection. So there is more like isolating from people in their more extreme manifestation, and preferring to do things, to keep yourself busy with things rather than people. But in general, the most light form are people that when there is a discussion, for instance, they tend to close down, stop to talk about it, or prefer not to talk about things. The other kind of insecure attachment is insecure anxious. Insecure anxious, there is a tendency to clinginess. There is this need to reassurance. There is a search for the other, for the connection with the other, but at the same time also often a sense that is never enough. There is this sense of not being protected, not being safe, needing things that you cannot, that you do not feel you naturally have, or that naturally will flow in your life, in your relationship. The third sort, consider one of the most painful, is this disorganized. This disorganized as an alertness for danger, a tendency to control. There is a certain impulsiveness. There is a kind of a struggle inside, a kind of an inner conflict that makes everything really chaotic, really needing to be ordered and organized. Now, what it's important to see is that in well-functioning individual, like the one I see in my therapy relationship therapy practice, there is a combination of all this. There is a percentage, let's say, where you are securely attached, and then you may have more dominant tendency towards one of the other insecure attachment. When I explain, there are a lot of tests, to be honest, online. Some are also quite good. You can decide for yourself if you want to test yourself, or if just hearing to this example, if you already have an idea of where you are. Now, if it is true that we develop our style in childhood in the relationship with our caregiver, I've also noticed really often that our attachment style can change depending on our partner. So within a relationship, there can be a bit of a polarization. Especially the avoidant and the anxious tend to polarize each other. And I think the polarization is more easy when there is enough secure attachment. So for everything that it's a bit strange and upsetting for you, you can easily polarize to one of the two because there is enough secure attachment. When the insecure attachment has a bit of a more strong connotation, because what happens in childhood was particularly intense. So there is that flexibility to move between styles can be reduced. Then you do not notice that. But really often you may notice a change in how you react to different partners. So that's one thing. So we do all have a bit of all, and in different percentages. So you may notice aspect of yourself. You may recognize little pieces of yourself in different attachment styles. The attachment style has a certain amount of flexibility, and this is good news because the idea is that when you recognize yourself in any measure in one of the insecure attachment, you know there is flexibility. So you know you can heal, you know you can move towards even more secure attachment style. The way you do that, it's if you realize that these are attachment on an emotional level, on a really intimate level, that started to play when you were really little, working with the inner child is where you can find a lot of healing. Becoming yourself the new adult that take care of the child, that provides the child what the child needs to heal, reprogram certain information to make the child feel secure, trusted, and in the state of being able to trust, protected and nurtured. So what happens really often when, for instance, also in a relationship, the biggest issue seems to be that one or both of the partner have big challenges in terms of attachment, I often suggest to just have some session individually to work on that. Okay, something else I wanted to say is that when you notice that you have some, in some measures, some insecure attachment, you may be focused to go and investigate and find out everything about what went wrong as a child that made you develop this attachment style. You may get memories. I mean, if something comes up, by all means. I'm not sure how much healing there is in a historical research, let's say. So there is a limitation. Remembering to heal, it's one thing. What I've noticed sometimes is a tendency to focus too much on the information, too much on what happens around you as a child, and not enough on what happens now, what can happen now between you and your inner child. And associated to this, the tendency could also be to say, oh, I had bad parents because I have an insecure attachment. Parents normally, and I say it as a daughter and as a parent, parents do the best they can with the attachment issue they have. So if you have a certain attachment, insecure attachment, at least one of your parents, if not both, had the same, even worse. So there is a kind of a generational healing. Every parent tried to do better than their own parents did, and they probably do. but it's never, the process continues. The healing goes on generation by generation. What you can do as an adult, if you realize, hey, I am insecurely attached, it's healing your inner child. And maybe doing that, you can make the step between your generation and your children's generation bigger. So the healing that you bring may make the healing that your children will need to do more smaller. So that's what I wanted to share about attachment style. So attachment style, it's in my personal opinion, just sometimes a way to realize, hey, you're really anxious, I'm really avoidant. We polarize each other. What you could possibly also do in the relationship is realizing, if you realize something like that, this is the most typical. If one has the tendency to an anxious attachment within the relationship, and the other partner has a tendency to avoidant attachment, there is a polarization. So that could be that you chose each other because you are so different and you are trying to heal that way. It could also be that you trigger each other a little bit. So you can also look like, oh, I'm anxious and he's avoidant. How can I trigger less? How can I look more at what I need and less look more for what I need in the other and more inside of myself? And the one that is avoidant, they say, okay, I'm avoidant. The other one is anxious. How can I react less, act more and react less? How can I still show my feelings within the boundaries of what I'm comfortable with? So this is a bit, don't take it as a diagnosis. If you realize, hey, I think I'm avoidant, hey, I think I'm ambivalent, take it more like, oh, that's an information. What can I do to be even happier? What can I do to leave the discomfort that this realization brings to the surface? And again, I believe that working on the inner child is one of the most effective way. This is, this is a bit of a complex topic, I find, in many ways. So if you have questions, you can ask them below in the comment. I hope this content was useful, and to the next video.